Are you married or in a committed relationship looking for real advice on having love and enriching your relationship? You are in the right place. Welcome to The Couples Expert with Stuart Fensterheim.
Hello, and welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast. This is Stuart Fensterheim, and I'm coming to you today from Scottsdale, Arizona, where it is a wonderful 70 degrees. I love being here this time of year because our weather can't be beat anywhere in the country. But what makes today even more exciting is that today I have one of the happiest people I know coming on as a guest. Vicki runs a company for supportive spouses. The website is supportedspouses.com. And I like to call her, and she calls herself, a happiness ambassador and love lifter. Now, that may sound like just shtick, but when you get to know Vicki, you know how true this is. Because there is nobody I have met recently that is more passionate about helping people really just get happy. And she is the founder of supportedspouses.com, which also includes an online program which she co-created with her husband, Richard. And she is often referred to as the happiest person anyone knows. And what's cool is I have on my show a celebrity, because she's been on television in Australia and appeared for a while, even daily, for about 9 years. She has a book called The Little Book of Love Lifters, which has been sold throughout the world. And what's so neat is when you talk to her, you just can't help but smile. So, Vicki, I am so excited that you've agreed to put aside some time for us to really help us understand how to neutralize some of the nitpicking that we all do with our partners. And so I want you to really share with us a little bit about your program, a little bit about what got you interested in what you're doing, and how we can stop this nitpicking, because a connection, which is something that I've talked a lot about, having to do with relationships, that emotional connection can really be blown apart if what we do is pick and all we feel is that no matter what we do, our partners are going to be unhappy with us. So how do we go about sharing with our partners some concerns without it feeling like we're just nitpicking at them? So Vicki, welcome to the Couples Expert Podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, Stuart, and your fabulous audience. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, and I'm sure my audience can tell you're not local just from your accent. So we met online, and you've just always been someone that's been so incredibly positive. I wanted for sure to have my audience meet you through my podcast to really talk about relationships and what does it really take to really have, number one, a relationship in where both people are really defined as supportive, and your whole genre of happiness really intrigues me. But before we get into any of that, I really want everyone to get to know you a little bit. So if you could talk a little bit about what you do and how you decided to go into this crazy line of work.
I'd be very happy to answer those little questions, Stuart. Well, as you know, and you referred to this, my overall brand is Supportive Spouses. But under that, I call myself a love lifter and a happiness ambassador. So I'm actually a sworn happiness ambassador. That's like an official thing. But the love lifter, I came up with that myself because I thought that's really what I like to do, help people to lift their love in their lives, in their business, their marriages, and in their life in general. So that's where Love Lifter came from. And I guess without telling a really long story, my hubby and I, Richard, who I refer to as my hashtag hero hubby, and I encourage anyone out there who has a fabulous husband, if you're writing a post on Facebook or something, feel free, use that hashtag hero hubby and let them know how special you think that they are. Anyway, so when I was growing up, I didn't exactly have an ideal example of what a fabulous supportive relationship ought to be between two people in a marriage. I love my parents very much, but there was quite a bit of domestic violence, a lot of that fueled by alcohol. My dad sadly was an alcoholic. He's no longer with us. And as I say, I love them both very much, but I could certainly see growing up that that wasn't the sort of relationship that I wanted to have when I grew up, and I, eventually found my one. That is Richard, of course. And so I don't know, I tended to be fairly positive as a child anyway, growing up. And then Richard and I, when we met and we started to court and get together, that was pretty terrific. But I think over the years, we've found that we've worked out ways of making our relationship feel like, I guess, the most exciting thing that we have in our lives and the thing that we are most proud of, to the point that we are constantly asked by people what is our secret. And Richard and I have been together now for over 35 years as a couple and over 25 as a married couple. So it's pretty exciting, and we're very proud to be one of the happiest couples in the world, if not the happiest.
Do you know what? You know what's really sad about that is that everyone's going to go, wow, that's impressive. And to me, that's one of the saddest things, that people have that concept that being together for 35 years seems so like a really big deal when it should be just so much easier. And I'm hearing you talk about the exciting part about being together. So I'm very interested to hear more about that.
Well, this is how it's become my entire philosophy, not just for my business, but for my life. And my philosophy is that anyone can make happy their default setting in business, relationships, and in life. And from that, there's another, I guess you could call it a saying. It's a quote. It's something that I use all the time. And this really is, if you want, I guess, the overriding message of what I'm trying to put out there. And it's my passion, and it's Richard's passion as well. And it is that a happy marriage is a team of two cheering one another on so they both win.
So both people feel like they're winners.
Yes, absolutely. And cheering one another on, being proud of one another, and keeping positivity as the main theme throughout the relationship, as opposed to negativity.
And obviously the question that people are going to be asking is, how do you create that if you don't have it already?
That's interesting. It's something that, well, our relationship evolved over the years, Richard and mine, and we found that there were things that we were doing, because you tend to work out what doesn't work. And by working out what doesn't work, you also discover what does work. And we decided that we would do more of what does work, to the point that it has literally become our default way of being with one another, is to be positive. There used to be some negativity in the relationship, but over the years we have worked out a way of dealing with that. And that's what I'm hoping to share with you guys today, is how to deal with that. And it's pretty much a fail-proof system, almost fail-proof, I feel.
Oh, fail-proof. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's exciting. Please start talking about that.
Okay, I'd love to. So I don't. Anyone who is aware of my work will realise that one of the things that I love to do is to create acronyms which make it easier for people to remember things. And for me, it's a creative way of putting together an idea in a way that's easy not only to remember but to implement, because you can go, okay, what are the steps? And so with that being the case, of course, Stuart, I had to create an acronym for neutralising negative nitpickers.
Mm-hmm.
And so my acronym is the word radio. And that came about because it's so important to be on tune to the same station with your one. And I thought, well, radio is a really good word for that. And it just fell into place. And so there are obviously 5 letters in radio. Each of the letters stands for a particular step or part of dealing with how to neutralise negative nitpicking in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll go through it briefly. You have, I think, access, Stuart, to a PDF that I prepared, which has the radio acronym completely filled out for your viewers, so they can actually refer back to that. So if people would like to take notes, that's fine.
Yeah, and just so everyone knows, you'll be able to download that on my show notes for this episode.
Oh, that's fabulous. That makes it so easy for people. Thank you, Stuart.
Sure. This episode is sponsored by Stuart's Daily Notes. Stuart's Daily Notes is an email newsletter from the couples expert that will improve your marriage in 5 minutes a day. Small things can have a big impact on your relationship over time. Sign up for Stuart's Daily Notes. It's a resource of tools, videos, exercises, and more. All done by the couples expert, Stuart Fensterheim, with 30 years of clinical experience working with couples. Delivered straight to your inbox. The best part about it, it's free. Sign up today. Go to www.thecouplesexperts.com and change your relationship every single day of your life together.
So we've had an acronym for neutralizing negative nitpickers, the word radio. So the R actually is probably the most important letter of the acronym, because once you nail this one, then the rest of them will just fall into place. You almost won't need the rest of them. But the first one is R, and that is for realization. And the realization is that in a happy marriage, you will feel welcome, worthy, and well-loved.
That's great.
So it may seem very simple, but it's about just that. By having that realization, it's really understanding that you as a person are a beautiful human and you deserve to feel all of those things, and so does your one. And by having a happy marriage, you will feel all of those things. If you are not feeling all of those things, welcome, worthy, and well-loved, then you do need to do some work on some things, which is why we've created the rest of the radio acronym. So the next step is actually awareness. And that is the awareness of the presence of negative nitpicking in a relationship. And that is things like, do any of these things ring a bell? Something like your partner, your one, may say, "Oh, are you cooking that for dinner again tonight?" Or, "Are you watching that television show? Surely you're not going to wear those jeans." Those sorts of little things which have a little negative undertone to them. And so it's being aware. So if you ever have these moments where you feel, like you're walking on eggshells, you've probably experienced that from time to time with people, not necessarily with your one, but if it is with your one, then that's certainly something that needs to be dealt with, because you deserve to be happy in your relationship and in your life. And in a happy marriage, negativity is not normal.
And I think we want to repeat that, because that's such an important concept, because people ask me all the time, how do you know if this is a healthy marriage or not? And one of the criteria is if there's negativity, that's not healthy in a marriage.
Absolutely, 100%. And I think if you just summarize it nice and tidily and just say that in a happy marriage, negativity is not normal. Mm-hmm. It really, I guess it defines it. It's so that, like, oh my goodness, I feel like I'm walking on eggshells quite a bit, actually. Or I find that I'm becoming nervous or dreading my one coming home after a day at work, for example. That sort of thing, that's not feeling to feel happy, and that's not to feel content. And thereby it's really important to be able to deal with that so that you can be happy and feel content, so that you can have a relationship where you can honestly say, our marriage is a team of two cheering one another on, so we both win.
Do you have steps that people can take that would help them shift it from negativity to positivity?
Yes. And so the next letter in the acronym, so we've had R, which is realization. Mm-hmm. Awareness is for the A. Then the D is for discussion. Okay. And this is where you have a discussion about your feelings and the feelings of your one, and it's the feelings around the negative nitpicking. Because oftentimes, someone who's being negative, because negativity is doesn't necessarily equate to being nasty, because nastiness implies intent. And most of the time, your one is not meaning to be nasty to you. They certainly wouldn't want you to feel badly. And so it's about discussing how you feel about certain things. So if, for example, they have made a comment that, they're not keen on perhaps the dinner that you're making because you've made it 3 nights in a row or something like that, they may not realize. They might go, oh, gosh, having this again 3 nights in a row. But they may be saying it as a joke. You may be taking it on as a little bit of an insult or a scathing remark. You might be really proud of that meal and you've made it 3 nights in a row because you really thought they loved it. And so it's really important to discuss that and let your one know how you feel about that and to listen to how they feel about that. And it's very important not to hijack them about something. So if they've said that, not to just come back with an attack, so to speak, as in, oh, you're always so negative, because that is a very blanket statement and that doesn't actually do anything to inspire harmony.
Right. That would be where you would, in a vulnerable way, say, I appreciate the effort that you've made, but I need to tell you that that's not really something I like often.
Stuart, absolutely. Yes. And it's so important to plan when you're going to say this and plan it together with your one. So as opposed to reacting to something that they've said that you see as negative, you already realize that negativity is existing within your relationship. So going, in your own mind, you need to sort something out. So it's a matter of setting up a time with them to have a discussion about it. And a good thing, you can use your own words, but this is how I, for example, would put it. This is Vicki speak. This is how I would say it. I would say, when I think of us as a couple, I think of the saying, a happy marriage is a team of two cheering one another on so they both win. And I'm feeling we could actually be a stronger team. Perhaps we're not quite as strong a team as we could be, not cheering one another on quite as well as we could be. And I'd love to have a little meeting with you about that. So what would you prefer, tonight after the kids have gone to bed or tomorrow morning after coffee? Which would you prefer?
Right. And that way you give people a choice and they feel like they're not being attacked right then and there.
Absolutely. Yes. Very, very important. And it also gives you a chance to, if you're feeling you could feel hot under the collar about that having been said, right. The comments about the meals.
And I think the other positive thing about what you just said, if you don't mind me sort of stepping in here, is if you just say, I want to talk to you about something and you leave it like that, then people get anxious. But if by telling them also what you want to talk about, it also gives people the opportunity to have some time to process it in their head and think about the topic. So it's two people having a dialogue and it's not a monologue.
Yes, that is so important. Yes, again, the dialogue versus the monologue, which is, communicating as a team.
Right.
And yeah, that is so super important. And another point about that as well, as opposed to them perhaps getting anxious, they actually may start to scratch their heads and think, what have I done? And they will start picking up on things that they know they've perhaps done that weren't an ideal way to have commented or behaved. And that's not a bad thing either, because that way they become on the same page by the time you have your meeting, as opposed to them just turning up at the meeting, have no idea, like, why do you want to talk? So they know it's about, becoming a better team together. I mean, like any great sporting team, it doesn't just happen. They make a plan, they train, and, they get together and they work out what's working and what's not. And they do it on a regular basis, which is so super important for couples to do as well.
Right. And then the other piece of that, I believe, is you have a positive intention about the discussion, so that what's hard, I think, for folks is sometimes when someone says, I want to talk to you about something, what ends up happening is you come in and in your head, you start doing the comebacks as opposed to seeing it as, wow, this person really cares about us because they want to improve our relationship. So the discussion isn't about criticizing me. It's about making both of us feel happy in this relationship. And sometimes in our heads, we have to change the pronouns and we have to change the way that we think about it so that they come to the dialogue. The two of you come at this as a couple, as a team working together, as opposed to, okay, now I have to stand here for the meeting while I get bawled out.
Absolutely. 100%. We are so on the same page, Stuart.
Okay, terrific. So then the next step is an I, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So we've had realization, awareness, discussion, and the I actually stands for a couple of things. It stands for isolate and inspire. So the isolate is for isolate the incidences of negativity, not your one. That's very important.
Clarify that, because that's a little confusing.
Okay, so what it is, instead of seeing your one as just a negative person and just perhaps saying, why are you always so negative? It's isolating the incidences. So if, for example, the incidents about the meals, about cooking the same thing 3 days in a row. So that's an incidence. So it's not tarring them with a brush of negativity as if that is all they are, because they're your one. You didn't marry them or start to go out with them or become a couple with them because they did lots of negative things all the time. There are lots of things that you love about them and great things that they do. And if we isolate just the particular negative thing that happened and discuss that, as opposed to discussing your one as a whole, as if they need to change completely, it's just having a discussion about that particular incident and how you would prefer to deal with that in the future. And the inspire is to inspire harmony, inspire a solution. So that is going through, and it goes back a little bit to the discussion. It's about working out how you would be happier for them to, if they would prefer you to not make the same meal 3 days in a row, work out between you a way that could be raised in future if that sort of thing happened, that wouldn't be taken as an insult or as being negative, but as a discussion about the weekly menu between the two of you, that sort of thing. And this can also be that thing with the meal, for example. That may not necessarily happen just when there's just the two of you are together alone. That could easily happen in public, or you may have friends around and that happens. And so a good idea, now I think this is a really great tip, is to create a safe word between the two of you, a word that wouldn't sound odd to other people if they heard you saying it. But it's a way of diffusing the situation or letting your one know that you've seen this something as becoming negative, and that perhaps they should, remember, oops, okay, I better simmer down a little bit with that and become a bit more positive. And an example might be cupcake or honey, words that you may not necessarily call your one every day, but it wouldn't sound odd if
you did.
Said,
if you said the word publicly, not everyone's going to know that anyone is concerned about anything, and you and your partner have sort of this secret language that the two of you together know what it really means.
Yes, absolutely.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, because you don't want to embarrass them, you don't want to create a scene, you don't want to feel uncomfortable, but it can be that if just the word has been used, if you've called him honey or he's called you honey or him or her, whomever, then it's just like, okay. And no one needs to know around you. And it'll get to the point where you'll never need to use those words, your safe words. But in the meantime, it's really handy to have those.
And then lastly, we have the O.
The O. Now, this one's fairly short and sweet, but I think it's a fabulous one. It is oneness. moving forward. And so having gone through the other steps of realization, awareness, discussion, isolate and inspire, oneness moving forward. So focusing on having a happy marriage where they're a team of two cheering one another on so they both win. And yeah, that's pretty much short and sweet. It's not a separate thing that you do. It's something that becomes, I guess, your mantra, your marriage motto that you move forward with. And gosh, it really does make a difference, and it really helps you to make happy your default setting in your marriage. It's just fabulous, Stuart, I must say.
This is fabulous, and I'm really thrilled that you went through all of that. And what was interesting is when I was sort of thinking about our talk today, and I went on your website, and one of the things that I noticed that you talk a lot about, which is something that I share a great deal about, and maybe we could sort of close today in sort of identifying the power of this, is the concept of humor and laughter in a relationship. And I think that's such an integral part of having that kind of relationship with your partner, where the two of you really see each other as really important people in your life, and someone that you are going to inspire, and you are going to have a realization that the two of you have created something special. Talk a little bit about that.
I absolutely agree. We pretty much agree on a lot of things, Stuart.
Maybe that's why we get along so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, laughter is like massive, so important. Oh my goodness. And it's not just laughter and humor, but it's also to smile. So to be able to make your one smile is such a gift, such a gift. And I don't mean just because you've said or done something amusing to make them smile, but even if they're, not with you and they just think of you, and that gives them a little smile, even if they don't actually physically smile, but they're smiling in their heart, that is just super fabulous. But to laugh together, oh my goodness. And as a couple, we all have like our own little language, as we spoke about before. And you have these little things between you that can actually make you crack up and curl over in laughter, where people around you can be looking and thinking, what was so funny about that? But it's because you have created this history together, and it's to celebrate your history. And you find these things hilarious that other people may not even realize are funny. And it's because you have a shared history and you laugh about these things because of something that happened in the past. And you know how good it feels when you have a really great laugh, and sometimes like it's a laugh that you can't contain it. Like it's just from inside of you, and it just comes out, and it's just brilliant. And when you share it with your one, oh, there's nothing better.
And I think what you're suggesting in that is the two of you needing to create memories and experiences. So sitting around and just watching television isn't going to do that, so that the two of you need to find opportunities to have experiences so you can then share the experience and find the humor in things and have the laughter. And then those experiences are things that you have in your memories that when things aren't going so well, you can really access, and it creates just a change of those memories really can make a relationship shift just from that.
Yes, very much so. Very much so. We have a module that basically covers that point exactly within the Supportive Spouses program.
I would like people to be able to get hold of you if they want to communicate, if they want to find out more about what you do in the Supporting Spouses program. How would people do that?
The easiest way is to go to supportivespouses.com. That is probably the easiest way. Another way is if they were to download the free PDF that I gave to you to pass on to listeners. So listeners, please go to Stuart's show notes and download the free gift. It has a few of my most popular image quotes on it, as well as this radio acronym as well. So that'll help you with that. But it has a link there to a special that I have put together a favour for friends that I put together for Stuart and for you listeners as well. It's called a Transformation Trio, and it is the Supportive Spouses program, so there are 12 modules there, as well as a gratitude journal and my book, The Little Book of Love Lifters. And I've put that together for a special price of 50% off for Stuart's listeners. So Stuart will probably put the link for that.
I sure will. And again, I just want to thank you again for coming on and being willing to give of yourself. And I think people really can feel how much you care about the people that you're trying to help, and just your warmth and your gratitude and your happiness and being the happy ambassador. So thank you again for coming on.
Oh, thank you, Stuart, and thank you, listeners. We really appreciate the gift of time you've given by listening to this podcast. Really appreciate it. Thank you. And yes, please go out there and make happy your default setting in your marriage.
All right, take care now, and we'll see all of you next week on the Couples Expert Podcast. Take care now, and please stay connected. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening. This episode has ended, but your journey continues. Head over to www.thecouplesexperts.com to access all the links and resources mentioned in this episode, as well as bonus content exclusive to podcast listeners. Enjoyed this episode? Why not hit subscribe now and never miss an episode?